we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying. Oh,
Shalom, shalom, family, and welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Zurishaddai, one of the teachers of Congregation BINAH CHOKMAH, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York, giving all honor, glory, and praise to the Most High, King of the universe, for life, food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Thanking all of you for being here today, and I pray that the Creator of heaven and earth will continue to bless and keep each and every one of you. I hope that everyone out there is having a beautiful time. Early Shabbat Shalom to all of you. And I pray that the Creator of heaven and earth will continue to bless you all. Don't forget our to like, subscribe, and to share the link to this video. Don't forget also our August 31st event, which you will see throughout all of our and on our YouTube channel. Our 10th year anniversary celebration. So you could call us at 347-622-9090 for any information on that. So thank you all once again for joining us. We pray that the Creator of heaven and earth continue to bless each and every one of you with the blessings of life, food, clothing, and shelter, and all of the things that are necessary for us to live in this life. So today we're going to be covering the portion of Pinchas, just going over certain points. And for that, I'm going to pass it on to one of my teachers and one of my mentors. He's been Nasik, Zurishaddai ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
Great, Baruch Hashem. First of all, I'd like to give praises to the Supreme Intelligent and the Universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob, and do respect to the platform on the D.C.B channel platform. Spiritually, Chief Prince Yariel ben Yasaska, to the host Chief Uzael, to the Princess Chief Kohanim, Maureen, Rabbinate, brothers and sisters, visitors to the channel. I greet you all in time of forefathers. Shalom Aleichem, and an early Shabbat Shalom. I'd like to start off with Adonai Septai Ditakupi Agiti Lateka. O Lord, down my lips, my mouth should declare the praise. Last time we was dealing with Balak and the particular character of Bilam. So like Balak means to destroy, and Bilam means like a glutton. So, and it's unique that characters that's distant relatives to us that had issues with us, so dynamic, and yet the one that seemed to hate us the most, one to actually curse us for destruction, So whereas the destroyer wanted to rep, but he was acted out of fear, Bilam acted, out of just pure hatred, in that sense. And, so, and I already talked about some of the qualities of Bilam last time, but I didn't get a chance to finish when we go into the particular portion of Pinchas. So, and when he first introduced in the Sidra of Balak. Before I go there, I'm just in case I don't get a chance to finish this time. The Sidra of Pinchas, the portion of Pinchas starts in the Masoretic text, Deuteronomy, the 25th chapter, the 10th verse, and it goes all the way to the 30th chapter, first verse. All right, so and there's a lot of things going on there. I won't be covering everything in Pinchas as normal, but I'd like to go back just a little bit. And also, before I do that, I'd like to address a question that one of the brothers brought out in reference to Bilam. But Bilam being a unique character, having the power of the spoken word. In Aramaic, it's a corruption of Aramaic, but we get this term called abracadabra. It's a corruption of, Adaber Bara, you know what I mean? I'll speak and I create, so that's abracadabra, so that, but the magicians and stuff use. So that's one of the things that Bilam was trying to exercise and take the credit himself. But this is what the creator did. The creator actually spoke. I know certain books they would say, in the beginning was the word, and the word was God, blase, blase, blase. We don't hold to that, in the beginning, before anything exists that has no beginning, there's a God. And our God actually create and then spoke. That's the difference. And it's to teach you a lesson. Though he could create with speaking, he created, and then we read about him speaking, because it's your deeds that should excel your creeds. I said it a few times in the past. It's worth saying it, every now and then, that talk is so cheap. People do it in their sleep. Action is deep. So, just talking doesn't say much about what your quality is. Your action speak louder. And we could read into that. All right. So one of the questions the brother asked, if I remember, and I just want to go back to it. Let me just get this on. Get it and about Bilam, about the eyes, and that question I want to address it. Hope maybe I didn't make it clear in the past, but I'm gonna go down the 24th chapter of Bamidbar. Let me see, 24th chapter of Numbers, rather, and we're gonna take it around, third verse in there. All right. And I just want to answer the young man's question, so to speak. And under Numbers 24, 24th chapter, Numbers, third verse, and he took up his parable and said, the saying of Balaam, the son of Beor, and the man, and the saying of the man whose eyes is open, rather, in English. All right. Now, the interesting thing, in the Hebrew, and just pick up there, Na'um HaKavera Shatum Ha'ayim. All right. So, now, the is the saying, and Hagaber is the word they use for man here. And they don't use the word ish, and as we see in English, but Kaber, more a mighty man. And I think I spoke on that. And the word is Shatum, Ha'ayim. All right. So Shatum means to be, to be closed, in that sense, and Ha'ayim is the eye. Now, body parts that comes in pairs has a dualism called ayim, usually, a kamas, yod, with it create, mem, so they call, ayim, like, yadayim for hand, wuklayim for feet, I mean, so even the face, for some reason, it's panayim, because you put on different faces, but that's usually body parts. And here, interesting enough, it uses, ayim. And so, and it's in the singular. And so, and then in the next verse, which the brother brought out this word, galui, galui, it says in English, the saying of him who hears the words of God, who sees the vision of the Almighty, falling down yet with eyes open. Now there you have the term nofel, which means to fall. I need nofel, I'm falling. All right. And we got the term when you find it with the Nephilims, which means the fallen ones. And, Ukalui is open as an adjective, anayim. And they use the word anayim for eyes. All right. So now I focus on about his eye, a closed eye, but could it be an eye that's bad and good? Normally people have a good eye and a bad eye. Just like people have a strong hand and a weaker hand, right-handed or you're left-handed. You have you leap off, if you're playing sports, some people might leap off on their right, some people might leap off on their left. So one part of the body might be a little bit dominant compared to the other side of the body. So also anybody that, practice, say archery or practice, shooting, rifles, guns and stuff like that. Sometimes if a target's very far, whatever the case is, when they try to focus, they usually start to squint and they usually keep one eye more stronger than the other. So we don't know exactly, what it is in this sense, but most commentaries from the third verse would say he had one good eye, or he was trying to focus like a mighty man, because a hunter would be, the word gaver, in that sense, and so he really trying to concentrate because it says, it's from the very beginning, of that particular chapter, and when the first verse said, and when Balaam saw that it pleased the Lord to bless Israel, he went not as at other times to meet with enchantment. And the word he uses kashim, in the kashim, which from the word nakash is there, all right, which is enchantment or a serpent. Nakash is a serpent. All right, so I hope that kind of, explains, a little bit more, more or less, compared, what I'm trying to share with the brother and answer his question. So Galui is just an open eyes and it's in the plural in itself, So, and when you use Shadum, you might even find it in some separation in the writing of the Masoretic, and scrolls, in the Megillah, in the scrolls, Megillah. All right, so now I just want to pick up from certain part of where I left off at, the 25th chapter. All right. So after Balaam couldn't curse him, and he prophesies in the future. And one of the things is that, like I said before, just to clear up a few things, is that parable was for all this information, though we're reading it ourselves, we're learning from it, was basically for Balak. Balak needed to understand what was going on, not us. And it goes to show you that one of the things, God protect us, and without us even really knowing that we are in danger. One of the Psalms I mentioned before is that, nations be apologetic maybe because of what they did. But we don't know how much hatred they might have had towards us. Sometimes people might have didn't like you in the past, and later on they say, well, I learned that you wasn't so bad. Forgive me. One of the good things when we think about Yom Kippur, when people ask for apologies in Yom Kippur, forgive me because I had some bad thoughts. A lot of times it's better for you not to even know how bad those thoughts were. They know how bad the thoughts were. God knows how bad the thoughts were. But it's better for you not to know. So that you won't, even though you might say, I forgive them, you could, get along with them a lot better without knowing the thoughts or the words they might have said. But now, this is some of the advice we learned here. At 25th verse, 25th chapter, first verse. And Israel bore and shipped, and the people began to commit adultery with the daughters of Moab, and they called the people unto the sacrifice of their gods. And the people did eat and bow down to their gods. This Israelites doing that. And Israel joined unto the Baal of Peor, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel. And the Lord said unto Moses, take all the chiefs of the people and hang them up unto the face of the sun, that the fierce anger of the Lord may turn away from Israel. And Moses said unto the judges of Israel, slay ye every one his men that have joined themselves unto Baal Peor. And behold, one of the children of Israel came and brought unto his brethren a Midianitish woman in the sight of Moses. All right. And in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Israel, while they were weeping at the door of the tent of meeting. And when Pinchas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, saw it, he rose up from the midst of the congregation and took a spear in his hand and went in after the man of Israel into the chamber and thrust both of them through, the man of Israel and the woman through her belly. So the plague was stayed from the children of Israel, and those that died by the plague were 24,000. So now we are introduced to this guy, Pinchas. But what is interesting is that this Israelite guy, after, other people said that they say that the chief people, participators in that, you know what I mean? And yet this guy goes out and get him a Midianitish woman. And we're going to find out later it's not just a regular Midianitish woman. And also, he passed by Moses, and in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Israel. That means Eleazar, Moses' nephew, the high priest now, is right there seeing this. And all the other leaders of the congregation of Israel. And yet, nobody made a move but Pinchas. And he went in. So there's a lot of things you could go with that. And it's, and it's an issue that's so rare, because you would think if you pass him by and say, what do you think you're getting ready to do, bro? I mean, it's a plague going on right now. People dying. What are you think you're doing now? You're getting ready to have pleasure while people is dying around you. So that wasn't even addressed in that fashion that we read about. So, so we're going to have such a unique situation that goes on here in this area. And then it goes on to say, in the beginning of Pinchas, the 10th verse of the 25th chapter. All right. And yet 24,000 died by the plague. Now, I mean, 24,000 died by the plague. We don't know how many was actually hands-on and, executed. So, but it's a plague going on with 24,000. That's a lot of people dying, when only 3,000, like I said before, died in the sin of the golden calf. So that means the sin of the golden calf was less of a crime than this particular thing here. When they had the calf and they had the sin of the golden calf, one, we didn't have the tabernacle set up. Two, Moses hadn't gotten back with the tablets of the covenant. So when we think the idol worship of the calf was bad, but we didn't have the Mishkan set up. We didn't have made a commitment at this time. And we're talking 40 years ago compared to this point in time now. So 40 years ago, so you got the tabernacle, erected. A lot of things going on. For 30-something plus years, that, our ups and downs, our tops and turbies. And yet, we only lost 3,000 then. So the more you know, the more you're responsible for. But let's go into that. You could discuss those things later. And it said, and the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Pinchas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, had turned my wrath away from the children of Israel, and that he was very jealous for my sake among them, so that I consumed not the children of Israel in my jealousy. Wherefore say, behold, I give unto him my covenant of peace, and it shall be unto him and unto his seed after him the covenant of an everlasting priesthood, because he was jealous for his God and made atonement for the children of Israel. Before I go to the 14th verse, one of the things I like to bring out in that area there is that Pinchas is the one that got the covenant of peace. And I said it before, but it's worth what we're saying. The covenant of peace is, would I get any repercussion? Or did I do the right thing? And then this the only time a man made a rash move that would, without normal due process and save a multitude of people, unlimited number, and yet God had intervened and told Moses this was really what was in his heart, and the people is able to accept that. And if they couldn't accept that, he still didn't have to worry about repercussion, because he is protected by God, whether you like it or not. That's very ironic. That I don't know what's in your heart. He's Moses' grandnephew. He done killed, a prominent man, which we're going to discover later, And not only he killed a prominent man, there was no due process. And how do we know that killing actually stopped the plague? You had to have the faith that it done it. They had to accept that what Moses brought, and also nobody was bold enough to make a move against Pinchas. So that's just something to think about. That and one of the that when David was being pursued, mostly by Saul, but it could be about anybody, but by Saul mostly, in the 86th Psalm, he asked, that God intervene, protect them, slow down the pursuers and stuff like that there. And he needed a sign. He wanted a sign that God is answering his prayer. Well, I don't know what sign Pinchas had, but I know one thing for sure. There was no repercussion for him. And then, like I said, psychologically, as one of the rough tribes, that he did this with. And then we're going to go, I'm going to go a little bit further in the 14th verse. And now the man of Israel that was slain, who was slain with the Midianite woman, was Zimri, the son of Salu, a prince of a father's house among the Simeonites. And the name of the Midianitish woman that was slain was Cosby, the daughter of Zur. He was head of the people of a father's house in Midian. So there's two royalties here. You got the top prince. Now this 40 years later. So this ain't the prince that was the top prince of Simeon when they made the dedication of the temple and when they took the census. This is a new guy who happened to wind up being the top prince of the tribe of Simeon, Shimon. And this guy was prominent. Now we know when Jacob blessed them in Genesis, blessed the children, what we call the sons together to talk to them and tell them about the last days. He said, Simeon and Levi are instruments of cruelty. These guys could be mean, rough, vicious. And they slew a city by themselves, killed all the men of the city by themselves. The other members of the family just came and spoiled it. But those two guys slayed a city by themselves. So now you have, when they say they're brethren with a temperament on both sides, how is it now they go against one another when they both was in the plan of getting rid of Joseph? So this is, tells you a lot what goes on through history. Some people learn from what Jacob said, and some people didn't learn as readily. This might have to be a learning curve for the tribe of Simeon, where the Levites took the heart. Levi himself took the heart what Jacob said on his dying deathbed. So now we go further. We look, and you say, well, Moses married to a Midianite princess. Father used to be an idol worshiper, believing in other gods. All right, so this woman is not part of the religious sect. She just happened to be part of a royalty. So if Moses, can marry a priest daughter, why can't I deal with this daughter of the Prince of Shechem? And I'm walking past everybody, so nobody's saying anything. So there's a lot of controversy, a lot of talk concerning that, but I'm not going to go into that because I will never get to where I want to get to today. But you could discuss some of the parameters and discussions that possibly could have been made. And there's always a lot of commentaries on this particular portion as well, with your various teachers and leaders. All right. So now, but like I said, and he's, Rosh, and it says, and these are distant family members to the children of Israel. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, harass the Midianites and smite them, for they harass you by their wiles, wherewith they have beguiled you in the matter of Peor, and the matter of Cosbi, the daughter of the prince of Midian, their sister, who was slain on the day of the plague in the matter of Peor. So the plague was related to that worship service. That's why God, he was angry and sent the plague out. But what is interesting, that a lot of times when we read the term Rosh, Nasik, and I always tell people it's a difference between the terms that's used. When people might use a saw, that's okay. It could be a general captain, but it doesn't, it's a title, like Yisrael, it's a title of, a quiet title, where when you talk about, Rosh and Nasik, it usually more so means a nobility title, a birthright title, a prominent family line. So that's why Ben Zakim, that's the only titles we use. And that's what we meant, when we say, this brother's a chief or this brother is a prince. The only difference was a chief was just specialized. In other words, you got a really technical job, but you still have nobility. Whereas a prince may be a nobility, but don't have no particular job, such as those 250 princes that died, in the rebellion. So to go on a little further, so she was no local yokel. And, we read about why are we supposed to attack Midian and not attack Moab? And later on we told them not to, we're not supposed to even harass them, and everything like that and fight with them, Moab, but you notice that we're supposed to attack and harass, Midian, later on, but we never was told to attack Moab, though we're going to have some problems with Moab in the future, right away, and going forward. And it says, after the, so to let you know that the lineage, this is a top guy, this is a top woman, and it took to this individual to slay him. And if you look at some Masoretic texts, but in all scrolls, the word for Brit Shalom, it has a space between in the middle of the wall, the letter wall. Shalom is Shem Lamed. Then they have a wall which is a colon actually, and Mem Sophie. All right, so that's how you got the word Shalom spelled out. and that you have a space between the wall. So, and normally the letter YAH usually is considered a hook, which connects things. So why is this disconnection is being used there in the letter when they talk about the Brit Shalom? Because everybody can't pursue an avenue, you know what I mean, and be zealous like that and take law into their own hands, you know, and God will exonerate them. Normally we have a due process, but yet it's a plague going on. The congregation is assembled, probably crying and dying, and don't know who's next to die, and a plague, you know, and yet there's so many people dying and this going on. So, and then God told him that had he not did this, it might have been the plague would have never stopped. So what kind of plague it was that was causing them to die? You know, there's a lot of commentaries on that. 26th verse. And it came to pass after the plague that the Lord spoke unto Moses and unto Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, saying, take the sum over the congregation of the children of Israel from 20 years old and upward by their father's house, all that were able to go forth to war in Israel. And Moses and Eleazar, the priest, spoke unto them in the plains of Moab by the Jordan at Jericho, saying, take the sum of the people from 20 years old and upward, as the Lord commanded Moses and the children of Israel that came forth out of the land of Egypt. All right. So it goes through the numbers. I'm going to skip past this part here and then sum it up. All right. So it goes by each tribe. And then, so now, as it goes through each tribe with the numbers in there, the total numbers, you know, that's a new census because you had 24 people died, 1,000 that died, you know, just in that one event. All right. So now, as I get over here to the 20, let me see here. Okay. To get to the 26th chapter, and I get to the 51st verse of the 26th chapter. You know, after all of was numbered, and they numbered by the, you know, if you pay attention how the numbering goes, it went, you know, pretty much as they was, you know, centered around the Mishkan, you know, and went in a direction similar to that, but you know, except the unique difference is that it started, you know, way before. The difference is that they start a little different. They started with the South camp, which had the most tragedy in the 40 years. So it went with Reuben, who was the standard bearer of the South. Then you had Simeon and Gad. You know, those were the camps that was stationed at the south of the Mishkan. You know, then you got, you know, the eastern section, and then then you got the western section. Then you had the northern section. All right. So in the beginning, when he was taking the census, they went east, south, west, north. 40 years ago, you know, when they actually was told them how they're going to sit around the Mishkan, as you know, which is your different census compared to the census when they left Egypt, which was just a collective census. All right. And I explained that before in my other talks. But this time they started with the southern camp. They had the most destruction throughout the 40. Well, this is to show them up or show more concern concerning the loss and tragedies that the southern camp has suffered. And remember, the Kohathites, Korah was from also the southern section. So the southern section with the Korahites, the Reubenites, and the Shimon, they suffer a lot of tragedy in that particular place there. And And there's a lot of Kabbalistic views concerning that particular position that they was in. As we go further, I'm going to speak about the numbers. In the 26th chapter, 51st verse, and said, these are they that were numbered of the children of Israel, 600,000 and 1,730. All right. So 600,000 and 1,730. All right. So 601,000. All right. Okay. All right. So now, if we look, if I did my math right, all right, the first time, if I did my math right, fact check me. And the first count, when we came out, when they counted in the wilderness, centered around it on Mishkan, was 603,000, and then they had 550 men that was 20 years and upward. Now, and this count, you got 601,730 men that's counted in the census. All right. Now, all these guys, just different. These and other guys that was counted the first time as part of this count, and then that's a difference of 1,820 people between the first count and the second count. Just that subtraction right alone. But in reality, with the 24,000 that died, if we add that to the count, it was 625,730 in that 40th year until that plague hit. So actually, that in 40 years' time, when Moses, talking about making much more multiple than you are, because you're a great multitude, you were, the 40 years later, more people of the children of Israel existed than those that left out of Egypt in that count when the Mishkan was set up. So now, because of that one incident, it's less, 1,820 less than you originally started out with. So that would tell you how serious and how tragic and how precious we are also in the eyes of the Most High. Now, this ain't counting the tribe, the Levites. This not counting the Levites at all in that count. All right. So I just wanted to, bring out those particular areas there. And then we move on to another area and what we're going to talk about briefly. And I'm going to skip on down to the 63rd verse of that same chapter. And it said, these are they that were numbered by Moses and Eleazar, the priests, who numbered the children of Israel in the plains of Moab by the Jordan at Jericho. They're right at the edge, ready to cross over. But among these, there was not a man of them that were numbered by Moses and Aaron, the priests, who numbered the children of Israel in the wilderness of Sinai. For the Lord has said of them, they shall surely die in the wilderness. And there was not left a man of them save Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, and Joshua, the son of Nun. So now we're into the 27th chapter. Now we're going to talk about inheritance, because now there's a new thing that's instituted in here about inheritance. Because while we're in the wilderness, what's there to worry about inheritance for? No one have any property for the term and time that we are actually in the wilderness. Now this thing, it become a topic of discussion that need to be addressed, because now we're getting ready to leave out the wilderness and go into the land and say, okay, where should I live? Where should my tribe be? You can't have 1/4 of Judah over here, 1/4 of Judah over there, 1/4 of Judah over here, and like that, and the other tribes intermingle like that. We left organized Egypt. We was organized at the Mishkan, and we must be organized by tribe and people in the land. So organizations is important, you know. And it says, the 27th chapter, then drew near the daughters of Zelophehad, the son of Kepher, the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, of the families of Manasseh. All right, and it says, the son of Joseph. And these are the names of his daughters, Machlah, Noah. And Noah spelled a little different. So, in Hebrew, so there's no R with an ayin as opposed to a chet at the end. All right. Hoglah and Milcah and Tirzah. And they stood before Moses and before Eleazar the priest and before the princes and all the congregation at the door of the tent of meeting, saying, our father died in the wilderness, and he was not among the company of them that gathered themselves together against the Lord in the company of Korah, but he died in his own sin, and he had no sons. Why should the name of our father be done away from among his family? Because he had no son. Give unto us a possession among the brethren of our father. So they not only made a petition, but the petition seemed like almost a demand in that sense. Now, you notice that you have Moses, you had the high priest now, Eleazar, and you got the top princes of the various tribes of the congregation there. And what's going to be the discussion? About inheritance. Who's going to inherit the land? No female was invited to the meeting, but these 5 females came up to this meeting, and they had an issue that they wanted to be addressed, and a meeting that they're not really called to, and a meeting that they wouldn't normally be in an ancient society, and that particular area would be, you wouldn't have anything to say in it. But they was important enough, and they figured it was important enough that we need to talk about the land and our father's inheritance. Their father meant much to them. Normally they say a son reflects the mother and a daughter reflects the father. They got some genetics to deal with that. Y'all can discuss that, amongst your leaders. I'm not trying to bring anything that caused any rift. I'm just saying normally in the book, and it's held down like that pretty much in the book, and they got some little bit of scientific thing that they try to correlate, line up with what the book views are. But normally the daughter reflects the father, and the sons tend to reflect their moms. And you figure the son should be reflecting the father. But that for some this is the way the book have it set up. And one of the things is that when we talk about the census, we read about, when we talk about the different census of the different tribes, the Asher daughter is mentioned again, the daughter of Asher, Sarak. When we read about Genesis, Asher daughter is mentioned there, the daughter, and Asher daughter, the daughter of Sarak. We read that Leah had 12, had the sons of Leah when Jacob was going to go down to Egypt. We read about the sons of Leah, but when it came to Dinah, it says the daughter of Jacob, his daughter. Talking about his daughter, Jacob's daughter, not her daughter, but his daughter. So these are some of the things you can go back in Genesis and look at, where it's strange that the daughter of Asher, they don't talk about the daughter of the mom, and they talk about Dinah, and it started with Dinah, who's before Asher, Asher had his kids pretty much, that she is actually, the daughter of Yaakov, and it's never really said the daughter of Leah. So it's very interesting, and they list it in genealogy in a sense, in the census. So sometimes a daughter, though this man didn't have a son, we usually say, well, we want the son to carry the name of the, carry a name down for generations, and, you see in this patriarchal society. But if a man has, a good daughter, a great daughter, that's like a badge of honor to him. So much so that's why, pretty much, father tend to worry more about the daughters than the sons in that area. Who they gonna marry, how they gonna be, how life gonna treat them and stuff like that. The sons, you can man up. Where the mother tend to worry about the sons more, than the father. And if a father don't have daughters, then that's less worries that he had to deal with. And I point out before that it's strange that only one of the patriarchs had a daughter. Isaac, Abraham, had 8 sons and no daughters. Isaac had 2 sons, no daughter. Jacob had 12 sons and only 1 daughter. So, and that's something to consider, going forward, in the book. But so now when they talk about, they died, when their father died, to get back to these daughters of Zelophehad, we don't know what sin he did. I know commentaries and rabbinical say he did this and did that, but the book leave it anonymous. So I always say, why tie a crime to a man whose identity is not given in the Tanakh? And that's coming from even the late Rabbi Akiva viewpoint. If this man sin and crime is not depicted in the Tanakh, then how are we going to say what was his sin, what was his crime that he died? All right. But so anyway, to get further into this here, when it would make Moses disqualify himself because the Korah and Dathan and Abiram thought they was going against God. No, they thought they was going against Moses. They didn't realize they were going against God. Neither did the other individuals. They wasn't trying to go against God per se. They thinking Moses is to have his own agenda. And they thought about nepotism. So even though the daughters realized in 30-some years later, realized that, they actually went against God, they saying, our father didn't go against God like that. So is it a subliminal message being brought out here or not? So you could discuss that even further. So Moses had to take this to God, and he took that to God. And it said, and he brought the cords before the Lord, and the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, the daughters of Zelophehad speak right. They should surely give them a possession of an inheritance among their father's brethren. And thou shalt cause the inheritance of their father to pass unto them. And thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying, if a man die and have no sons, that ye shall cause his inheritance to pass unto his daughter. And if he have no daughter, then he shall have give his inheritance unto his brethren. And if he have no brethren, then you should give his inheritance unto his father's brethren. All right, and then the uncles after that. And if his father had no brethren, then you shall give his inheritance unto his kinsman that is next unto him of his family, and he shall possess it. And it shall be unto the children of Israel a statute of judgment, as the Lord commanded Moses. So normally Moses come up with laws and write laws down, or say, thus spoke the Lord, blah, 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 but yet these women, when they brought their case in, they had a law instituted to be written out because of their actual charge, so they got a lot of, kudos for that, thinking in that area. And it shows you that the women wanted the land more so. You know, and like I said, I bring it up a lot of times that throughout the 40 years of the wilderness, the women was never the major problem in the book at all. Golden calf, men, you know, the rebellion, men, some women got caught up in there, naturally, standing around the wrong guy. But, pretty much men, anytime it was, breaking out, complaining. Now, when people mourn and complain, the whole congregation mourn and complain about certain people dying, then that could be a combination. But I'm just saying where we had major stuff where in major tragedies like the sin of Baal Peor. The women was, of Israel was in the orgies, was dealing with the orgies. It was men going out to the orgies, not the women. So, and it was pretty much a woman is focusing on getting into the land when the other guys, 10 of the guys said, no, we need to stay here. We don't need to go over there, And then the congregation of men pretty much said, let's go back. So this is some of the things that it shows that when a woman is for you and for the right cause, you can't beat that. That's, for the right cause, because normally this guy had no sons. He only had daughters. And the daughter's going to be part of somebody else's household. But his name is listed for all eternity. As long as this book exists, this history exists, his name is listed for all eternity without any sons. That's a unique thing. That's something to consider as we go forward. So let me just speed up just a little bit because a lot more on this here. All right. The 12th verse of the 27th chapter. And the Lord said unto Moses, get thee up into the mountains of Abiram, and behold, the land which I given unto the children of Israel, which I have given unto the children of Israel, and when thou hast seen it, thou also should be gathered unto thy people, as Aaron thy brother was gathered, because ye rebelled against my commandments in the wilderness of Zin, in the strife of the congregation, to sanctify me at the waters before their eyes. All right. These are the waters of Meribah Kadesh, in the wilderness of Zin. And Moses spoke unto the Lord, saying, let the Lord, the God of the spirits of all flesh, set a man over the congregation. Now, before I go there, I'd just like to look at this here. I'm going to 27:15, just a little bit. Let me see. All right, let me see, 27:15. Let me see where I'm at here. Let's see. All right, so in the 27th century, we got something unique that's never was actually said. You're gonna find this one liner in the book that we don't see in all the time. And well, it'll take me a little bit. No. Let me see here. Okay, and it says, all right, the 27th chapter in the Hebrew. All right, and it says, "Wadaber Moshe El Adonai Lemor." That one line, that one verse, and take a mental note of that one verse. All right, that is unusual. That is never said any other time but here in the whole Tanakh. That one verse, because normally is Adonai, the bear, the Moshe, where a more, or there more to say, So it's normally God, speaking to Moses and saying, but not, Moses speaking to God and saying. So that is something that's unique, in that sense, that one verse. And it's more like normally when you see that verse there, and 27:15, that's normally a command type style. So Moses told that he's going to die, but yet, are you actually, trying to demand that God appoint a leader in your stead? In that sense, and can you actually demand anything of God? So that's one of the things that is always a talk and discussion, because a good leader should always be concerned about the people he leads. That's what he should always be. Should have that kind of love and concern about, when I go, will the people still be okay? I'm not going to be here forever. So will the people still be okay? Did I leave enough examples and legacy and pass, be able to pass on the torch to somebody, where somebody be ready and groomed enough. And that's one of the things that's important, that sometimes a lot of people in various congregations don't really realize when it's time to sit down and let the next generation take over and trust in the next generation. If, you are a generation ahead of them, or even several generations ahead of them, you should say, all right, I did contribute a lot. So I need to be a guide to the side and a sage on the stage. So I got to trust that they're going to do the right thing, and let them take the rounds. And that's one of the things that, all good leaders should be always concerned about, and all the future of the people they lead, and letting you know that I'm not going to be here all the time. So as we go forward in this particular portion here, so he not only stops there, he said, let the Lord God of the spirits of all flesh set a man over the congregation who may go out before them, and who may come in before them, and who may lead them out, and who may bring them in, that the congregation of the Lord be not as sheep which have no shepherd. And the Lord said unto Moses, take thee Joshua the son of Nun, a man in whom is spirit, and lay thy hand upon him, and set him before Eleazar the priest, and before all the congregation, and give him a charge in their sight. All right. Now, what we have here, this is very important, is that this is the first time, that we have actually passing of the baton. First time in the book, an actual, real passing of the baton. And from one individual to another individual. Now, we know other people succeeded other individuals and took over roles, but I mean, the actual passing of the baton, we don't have that. Now, when we think about Eleazar the priest, he's up on the mountain with his father. He put his clothes on, come on down, right? He already a priest. Now he just happened to be the senior, the high priest. But, and Aaron passed on. But that's a given. That's not a selection process. The selection process is right here for the first time in the book. Selecting somebody to carry on the job that you have espoused upon yourself to do. With God commission, of course. With God, electing you to do that. You have somebody now that gonna fill the role. And it's always a lot to talk about. Did Moses think that his son's going to be selected? And why he didn't think about Joshua, and why he didn't nominate Joshua? If he asked for somebody to take over the role, what's the purpose of asking that? And let me know now. And say, we know we got the priesthood in place, but he's saying that's not good enough. So now for the first time, Moses talking about, all right, I know my brother, and my nephews and them dealing with the spiritual matters, but we need somebody to take over in the secular area. So could Moses, as some commentators think, referring to his sons in the secular matter, to take over the role of leading Israel. They didn't have the experience of Israel like Israel had. Joshua actually was, very experienced individual. Went to the hardships and the battles for the nation of Israel. So Joshua was around him all the time. But Joshua learned Torah like everybody else learned Torah amongst the elders. So he learned a lot of Torah from Moses because he was Moses' minister. Joshua wasn't in, the area where they had the golden calf at. So Joshua was steadfast. Joshua was the first one selected to defend Israel when Moses told him, choose men to go out and fight against Amalek. In their first battle, Joshua had to choose men, select men. So, and Joshua stayed by Moses' tent all the time. Why did Moses think about Joshua and recommend him? But now, when God said he's a man of spirit, is spirit just enough? What kind of spirit? Is just having spirit is enough to be a leader? Because some people could have great spirit, but they're only good for themselves. They don't be good for anybody else. And I ain't talking about an evil spirit. I'm saying their spirit is just basically based on them developing them and not them enhancing and leading other people to that same plateau. So those are some of the things that we look at as we go forward, and it goes on the 21st. And thou shalt put that honor upon him, that all the congregation of the children of Israel may hearken, and he shall stand before Eleazar the priest, who shall inquire for him by the judgment of the Urim before the Lord. At his word they shall go out, and at his word they shall come in, both he and all the children of Israel with him, even all the congregation. So that means now we talk about, as they say today, religion and state. We have a king, when they had kings in Israel that handled the secular and the state matters. And then you had the priests that dealt with religious matters. So Moses, with Joshua, he's a leader similar to Moshe, his mentor, in the sense that he also is good with spiritual matters and he's good with secular matters, though he's not the priest or the high priest. So Joshua will get word from God, as well as Eleazar get word from God. But when it comes down to say before Eleazar, the priest, when it's time to go to war, the king or the leader of Israel cannot declare war on his own, like we have in this country here. Several guys, would go ahead and say, I'm gonna drop a bomb over here. I mean, several presidents, it ain't just, we're talking about the current president, but several presidents made, moves, international moves of destruction without basically a Congress agreement. Several, way back from Bush all the way down, straight in a row, from Bush on back here to currently, which are more devastating than the current movement. So in our book, it shows that the king can say, I'm mad with with Moab. I'm gonna declare war on Moab. No, he had to confer and see with the priest, get word from God that it's okay to go to war with Moab and with any other nation. They got to get word whether it's okay to go to war. They just can't say, I'm just gonna go ahead and get out and fight because I'm upset with them or I need that territory. So this is, but Joshua himself was on a level where God could talk to him directly. But when it came down to say, well, you're going to put the nation at a particular, movement, then he had to consult with Eleazar. Is this movement okay with God, the high priest? So it kept the role of Eleazar intact, the high priest intact. So you got Eleazar and Joshua working together like Al-Haron and Moshe supposed to work together. Eleazar filling his father's role, and Joshua filling his mentor's role. And Moses did as the Lord commanded him, and he took Joshua and set him before Eleazar the priest, and before all the congregation he laid his hands upon him and gave him a charge as the Lord spoke by the hand of Moses. God told him to put one hand on him. He put both hands on him, so I double approve of this here. So he didn't have a problem with that. Then the last part, it goes into, different sacrifices, and the different observances of the feast days. Different offerings that's being made here. So when we talk about the different holy days that we observe, talking about Shavuot, matter of fact, in this particular section, when we get to Shavuot, it's called Yom HaBikurim, the day of the first fruits. In this particular section of Midbar. So I hope you got something out of this particular portion. About Midbar. One of the things that when you talk about the different sacrifices, now the only sacrifice they're doing daily from the time of Sinai was the burnt offering daily. The double burnt offering daily. But when we get ready to go into the land and everything like that, we're going to talk about all these other offerings and all these other days of observance that we're supposed to deal with within the land. And what's interesting is that when you check on the 7th month, Rosh Chodesh in the 7th month, you got a special offering that's done on Rosh Chodesh of the 7th month. You got a special offering done on Yom Kippur, which is the exact same offering that's only instituted on Rosh Chodesh on the 7th month, and is instituted on on Yom Kippur, that particular offering, along with the other offerings that need to go down, and also Shemini Atzeret. Now, Shemini Atzeret is introduced only in this particular portion, with a particular unique offering and date that's unique. So that offering is different. It's the same as the one that's done on Rosh Chodesh of the 7th month. It's the same that's done on the 10th day on Yom Kippur on the 7th month, and it's also done on the 8th day after the 15th of the 7th month. So that particular offering. So if you want to read that and look into that, that's important. And then talk about how many offerings we make on during the time of Sukkot, which is the most bullocks we offer. You start over 13 and work our way down to 7. So those things on those particular days, what the priests actually do, and why I speak on it now, and it starts off, with Shabbat offerings and stuff like that. Talk about the Shabbat as well as continual burnt offerings. All right, but why at this time is focused on, because we're getting ready to go into the land, and things and details need to be done more properly now and more readily now, because people are going to be spread out. Now, when we get into the thing about the inheritance of the land, before I end, I don't want to end without speaking about the law of inheritance. You're going to have a tribe, and as we get into it, when they start to pick the property and lottery, over the lottery, Eleazar and Joshua is going to be the ones that's going to be to ensure that people get into the land. But right now they got the lottery that's going to go down in Moses' time. They got the lottery going. And one of the lottery is this, which is unique, which I'll speak on a little bit more next week as we get ready to close the double sidrotes of the book of Bamidbar, is that you get the leader of a tribe, the head of a tribe. The tribe name is placed on, whatever, thing they put it in, and also when the tribe name is placed on in there, he just put his name on the tribe, and then a parcel of, a land will have what section that tribe will be on. So now you got the leader of the tribe dropping in his particular, which is a mystic, which is a divine thing in itself, that he dropping in, say paper, his paper for the, the tribe, we have paper, then, but anyway, whatever he wrote it on, in a pot, a lottery. And he said, well, why is it just a lottery involved instead of just assigning the tribes. That seemed like that'd be the most simple thing. God doesn't just spoke the Lord. That you, Judah, you over here. You Issachar, you over there. And you, Zebulon, you over here. That's that. But it says it goes by the size of your tribe. Those that have more people will have smaller property. I'm gonna have a larger property, excuse me. And those that have less people will have smaller property. But then some people might have, the smaller property might be more fertile, and our large property might be more grassland, suited for everything else. So everything had to be according to the character of the tribe. So when they would drop in, which would be a miraculous thing, is that they would drop in, the leader of a tribe would drop in the tribal name and this thing, and the plot of land, the parcel of land would be already with the tribe name already inscribed on it, And so when you throw it in, now they're not picking the land, and that's something, they're not picking the land, themselves. So what is divine in it is that I'm reaching in for the tribe of Yehudah. And I'm reaching in for the tribe of Yehudah. Now I put Yehudah, the name I plucked up and say Yehudah picked up here for, my parcel of land. All right. How do I know that land will be for me? The only one knew exactly when it comes down to the lottery of the land, where they're going to be at, is Caleb. Only one. Joshua knew he's going to be in the land. He knew he was going to have some space. But Caleb was promised a certain locale, as we're going to read about later. Everybody else that's there haven't even seen the land. So how I know I want to be over there? I haven't seen it. Nobody had been over there. So the uniqueness, the divineness is that you pull out your tribe and you pull out a land that could accommodate your tribe people and your characteristics of your tribe. That's what makes the lotto so special and so unique. But I hope you got something out of what I said, and any mistakes from my own. So, and then we'll try to close out the book next week. Even say Hashem.
Hallelujah.
And early Shabbat Shalom.
Hallelujah. Torah about Nasik. Praying that the Most High God will continue to be with you, bless you, protect you, and be with all your loved ones. Also, may the Most High God bless each and every one of you who are listening. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Don't forget to follow up on our calendar with all of our upcoming events. Everyone have a good Shabbat night sleep. And may the Most High God bless each and every one of you. Shalom, shalom. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Let's get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah.